Hi, my name is Kyle, and most of the time if I were going to make a video, even over a serious topic, I would probably start it with a more upbeat tone because I'm not new to streaming or video making, so I know that generally speaking, you always want to cater to your audience and what have you, and sound upbeat and whatnot, but today I'm here to tell you a story. This is a story of how I got fired for the dumbest reason I've ever heard of in my life. Now, I'm 19 years old. I graduated high school last year. In July of 2020. Because of COVID, our graduation got postponed, so I have not been in the real world for that long. In this time, I've worked 3 jobs. Well, in my life, I guess total, I've worked 3 jobs. I was working full time, and this most recent one was for a restaurant named Potato Shack that's in my city of Huntsville, 1229 Josie Street. And that information will be important for later. But first off, I'm going to introduce you to a very beautiful woman, my mother. Her name is Jennifer. I loved my mother to death, and she was one of my absolute favorite people in my life. I lost her when I was 14 years old. She took her own life, and those details we will not get into. Otherwise, I will start crying on this video, and that's not the intention, but that was on April 29th of 2016. I was 14 years old, and my life has never been the same since then. I do the absolute best I can to make my days good, and I hope that I have made her proud, if there is a heaven. I'm not even sure. But all of that being said, she took her life on April 29th, 2016. I think I already mentioned that. Today, as of the making of this video, is April 23rd of 2021. This is coming up. We are 6 days away from the 5-year anniversary of that happening. The day my life changed forever. And tomorrow, actually, I am going to be with my family, my mom's side of the family, and we're going to have our yearly celebration of her life because we all miss her very much and wish she was here with us today. Either way, I've been working for this company for 2 months, and I had COVID in that time, so there was a 3-week period of which I did not work. It was 2.5 months, excuse me. It was from February 3rd until April 23rd, today, actually. Within that time, I only was getting paid minimum wage. I was told I was going to be on a 30-day probationary period, of which it would then be decided whether I moved from running orders to being a dishwasher, to being a cook, or to working at the front. And I ended up being moved all around. My pay never got changed, even though it was I was told it was going to get changed as my position changed, even after the probationary period was up. But that didn't matter to me. I was just happy to have a job because since I lost my job before that, I just needed money to pay rent to live in my 1-bedroom apartment. Or 2-bedroom, excuse me. Anyways, I worked my absolute ass off for that company, day in and day out. I was there from the moment we opened until the moment we closed, usually 6 days a week, considering we're closed on Mondays. And I tend to take people's shifts all the time because I was scheduled for 39 hours a week. So that means every shift that I took, I was immediately into overtime. If you see a cat in the back of this video at all, that's Poe. I love him to death. Anyways, so I never complained about a job I had to do. I was never too daunted to work anywhere. I did my absolute best to learn everything I could and to provide as best as I could for that company. And today, I was in the back room washing dishes, and it's been quite a hard year since my mom passed. Some years hit me harder than others, but this year has been pretty hard. I've already cried a lot today, so I'm kind of all cried out, if that makes any sense. Even though I'm feeling emotional right now, it's just I have a limit on how many tears I can produce, I guess. Anyways, I was in the back washing dishes, and we're allowed to listen to music while we do so. And I had a friend that worked there named Eli, who I let him control my speaker because I always brought a speaker back there to make the time go by quicker when you're doing mundane tasks. And he was trying to get into some country music, and he was playing some old songs, and he played a song called Drift Away by Uncle Kracker, and some of you may know that song, some of you might not. Either way, when I was younger, my mom dubbed that to be our family song for her, myself, and my little sister. And so I sung that song with all my heart and all of the vigor I could muster. I hadn't heard that song in years, and it made me quite emotional. And although I didn't cry right then, I was feeling like it was going to be happening today at some point or another. And then about an hour later, I got back from my break. We had a 30-minute break, and I was back there, and I kind of just lost it. I started tearing up, and I went into our back room to collect myself and my emotions. And I will admit, I was falling slightly behind on my work, but it has been a massive rainstorm out, so there weren't even that many people coming into the restaurant at that time. So I had plenty of time to catch up. I had about 5 hours until my shift ended, and I'm normally 99% of the time an efficient worker, so either way, it was going to get done. It always does get done. But I took about 5 to 10 minutes to collect myself, because usually I rarely cry, so when I do cry, I cry very hard. And I came back out, and one of my managers came back there, and she was extremely over exaggeratedly asking me to please speed up my process. And although I know she didn't know why I had just been crying, nor she neglected to ask either, because I know you could see it in my face, I welled up with anger inside, because I rarely ever take off. I always do what I'm told or supposed to do. And I took 10 minutes to collect myself because I was mourning a loss, right? And I looked at her, and instead of doing what I probably would have done in the past, saying anything rash or anything rude, I just looked at her and I told her to please leave me alone. And then I went back to doing my work, which was going to get done anyways, like I previously stated. And she went and immediately grabbed my boss. I have no idea what they talked about, but she walked back in there and told me to grab my things and clock out and go home, which I kind of very happily did, because I was not feeling in the best mindset. Still am not today. It took a lot for me to get out of bed to even sit here and just talk to you guys. I've been feeling a lot of sadness and anger over the last couple days. But anyways, as I was on my way home, I got a text message, not even a personal confrontation, from my boss, who does know what this week is and does know what happened to my mom, that told me, I will read this out verbatim to you. Excuse me. He said, Grace just told me what you did and said, don't bother coming back to work. I'll have your final check ready next week along with termination paperwork. So I got fired because I took 10 minutes to go cry about the loss of my mom that I only normally do once a year. And there's two things that make this even worse for me, is the cowardice of not saying it to my face. And secondly, because he knew that tomorrow I was going to have that celebration with my family, or the celebration of life with my family, and he wouldn't even let me take off a day to mourn the loss of my mom. After all of that, I had to find someone to get it covered, and I had to. The only person who could cover it was another person who works there that has a 8.5-month pregnant wife that needs to go to the doctor quite often, and I really felt bad asking him, but I did anyways because it was really important. And I covered his shift today, actually, or yesterday, excuse me. It was Thursday. So the management at that place is abysmal, and it was honestly one of the worst establishments I've ever worked at. Yeah, so now I'm unemployed again for the second time this year, and it was one of the dumbest reasons ever. I feel like, everyone who works there ends up really hating the management. You always love the people. I actually love most of the people that work there. They're all genuine people, including the manager, that she's normally a nice person. I even bought her a smoothie today. Not that any of that makes so much of a difference. I just think it's interesting how I had this act of kindness for her, and she didn't even stop to either A, ask why I was sad, or B, ask why I was angry. She just immediately took it the wrong way and decided to go try to get me in trouble / fired, even though I do my work 24/7. Either way, I don't really know what I'm going to do from here besides look for other jobs. And yeah, if you live in Huntsville, Texas, and you think about working at Potato Shack, I highly recommend you don't. There are places that pay you don't get paid enough to deal with the dumb shit you have to deal with there. That's all I have to say. And yeah, to my mom, if somehow she's listening to this, from beyond wherever that may be, I love you and I miss you very much. And yeah. Anyways, I just felt I should share my experience because it's been one really, really shitty day. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.